COVID-19 world presents an unprecedented opportunity as well as a challenge to all of us. Today, I want to talk around the themes which concern a CEO of any organization, which based on many conversations I've had personally. Frankly, they revolve around three areas. The first is around revenue. How can I engage better with the customer? Second is around cost. How can we restructure a cost going forward to be aligned to the needs of the post-COVID world? And third, what are the new risks which an organization faces? How has the risk paradigm changed? To discuss the first one of these today on revenue, I have my colleague Deepak Malkani. Different industries have been impacted in different ways, as we all know that many sectors have faced challenges to recover, especially on the demand levels. So Deepak, really, what are the changes in the market? What are the changes in the consumer behaviors which are happening and the organizations need to be ready for?
Thanks, Dipankar. I think the big trend that we are seeing across consumer behavior is around a shift to digital channels. And this is true across a range of consumer categories. Many categories are reporting an increase of 2 to 3 times of online sales as they were before the lockdown, from 2% to 4.5%, 5% and beyond. It's said that it takes 21 days to form a habit. We have had enough time for that. And therefore, we feel that across a range of business consumer segments, we will see increasing share of online sales and probably approaching 10 to 15% in the next few years if organizations manage their digital strategy well. The second big shift is around a clear focus on value and essential buying. It's now well known that humble category like biscuits has seen their highest ever recorded sales in history. And this is true across all price points. Having said that, the value area is certainly one which we think will be one where consumers are willing to spend, and the overall economic situation will drive this caution in spending.
That's great, Deepak. I'm absolutely with you when we talk about the digital channels or about the movement towards the essentials. But what about the always-on consumer now? We are talking about this in such an extensive way. What is your view on how can an organization interact with this always-on consumer?
The always-on consumer is now a reality across businesses, and organizations are learning to deal with them. The first step always is obviously to understand and go deeper in understanding the buyer values of the always-on consumer, and that can happen when you really step into their shoes and look at the market as they do. One trend that organizations are recognizing is about consumers researching online but purchasing offline. Almost 88% to 90% of consumers in India are set to do this across a range of categories. This is also called ROPO. This, of course, needs organizations to be able to target the right consumers with AI algorithms around analytical techniques. Beyond nurturing leads is also the process of engaging consumers, making them and nudging them towards the decision point at moments of truth when they're online. And this whole process of generating leads, nurturing leads, converting them, and then engaging with consumers later for loyalty online is a whole process which organizations must devise through their digital strategies to engage with the always-on consumer. The entire experience that consumers get with your brand, online and offline together, and how seamless it is will determine how they stay on in your consumer journey with you and stay with your brand.
I love the phrase ROPO. I frankly had not heard of this before. I knew the expanded form, but calling it ROPO, not heard it. Great one. So moving on to the next issue around trade partners. Organizations have created an ecosystem of working through these distribution channels, working through the small retailers. And now if we talk about this whole digital world, what will A, happen to them? And B, how can they be co-opted onto the system? What is their place going to be in this new world of customer?
The Indian distribution system is undergoing a radical change in the COVID world. The fragmented Indian retail base, which was often seen at loggerheads with online and modern retail, is now getting an equal playing platform. We are seeing a range of companies investing in building platforms to actually connect and digitize your neighborhood retail store. A great example in this context is a leading telecom and a smartphone company which has built a relationship with a platform that has digitized about 20,000 retailers. So now, as a consumer, you in your comfort of your home can browse catalogs and order from a neighborhood retailer and also make the payment online. And this is empowering Indian retail in a way like never before. We think this is quite a watershed moment. In the coming few years, this will make a radical shift in the power equation for Indian retail networks. The second big thing is around partnerships. I think the important thing that's happening is companies across the board are now forging new partnership and alliances to enable secure and safe home delivery. We've seen a range of FMCG companies tying up with the hyperlocal delivery platforms to make sure that demand and supply does not get disrupted. And this is again a trend to watch out for in the future.
Deepak, I got to ask you this at the end of the day. What will it take to a foreign organization to change and innovate itself? At the bottom of it, that's what matters. So what's your view on that?
Thanks, Dipankar. That's an interesting question. And certainly innovation and change are the flip side of the COVID opportunity. Organizations really need to be ready now for two types of innovation. The first one is really product innovation, as we are seeing in a range of services categories. For example, in financial services, we are seeing NBFCs craft digital lending apps to be able to target consumers for small and medium-sized loans, say under 5 lakhs, and are rapidly expanding their consumer base through such contactless lending. The second thing I would also highlight is process innovation, and that's particularly important in the sales function. Sales now has to get used to, as we talked about earlier, contactless selling and remote and virtual ways to engage and influence the consumer. We are in fact working with a leading auto major, which is trying to reimagine the way the dealer sales executives engage with the consumer and help assist the dealer sales executive to target the right consumers, engage them virtually in the comfort of their own homes through the latest digital tools, as well as nudge them towards making a decision and making a choice, and even post-purchase, being able to engage with the consumer. All of these processes are now being reimagined in the context of the need to be contactless. So clearly, innovation is going to be the order of the day in the coming years. Thanks, Dipankar. We have spoken at length on the business to consumer environment, and I think it's equally important to consider the impact on industrial manufacturing organizations. You yourself run a large B2B consulting organization. How do you think is the demand squeeze impacting the industrial sales, and how do you think such organizations should adapt their selling strategies to fit the current environment?
Yeah, Deepak, that's a very good question. The consumer is as important for a B2B industrial manufacturing company or even a consulting firm like ours as it is for a B2C company. So I think so in a B2B scenario, the first and foremost element to me is how are we keeping close to our customers? How are we walking the journey along with them? That's very important. I think so that's number one. Number two is around equipping our own teams around selling virtually. The model, frankly, has been face-to-face all this while. Now, suddenly that is turned on its head to make it virtual. So at least I know in our organization, what we are focused on is about equipping our people, equipping our teams, not only with the tools, but also the way one has to sell virtually. So even just these two simple points are kept in mind, it will go a long way for a B2B company.
Thanks, Dipankar, for this opportunity to talk about a subject which is at the heart of the CEO agenda today. Thanks for the opportunity.
Deepak, thank you very much for those insights. The people who are listening into this recognize and know that the journey is a tough one, but clearly not an impossible one. Friends, look forward to catching up with you next week again.